Coming up on In Your Neighborhood, we'll take you to the home away from home for families dealing with a very difficult situation. Plus, we'll talk with a local woman who was in Paris over the summer, but not to see the sights.
Customer service matters. With Service Electric Cablevision's 24/7 technical support and a dedicated local team, we're here when you need us. Got questions? Get answers. Reach your local office by phone, chat online, or stop in and speak with a friendly customer service representative. Service Electric Cablevision, your local choice.
There are a lot of avenues you can take to market your business, but one easy choice to make. The SECV8 Community Bulletin Board is an inexpensive way for you to get directly into the homes of the potential customers you want to reach. The Community Bulletin Board costs $6 a day and can reach up to 54,000 households. You can find out more by heading to secv8.com.
Welcome to In Your Neighborhood. I'm your host, Chris O'Rourke, and I'm here with Ronald McDonald. And we're outside of a house in Danville that bears his name. It's a home away from home for families who are oftentimes dealing with the unthinkable.
The hospital takes care of the children. We try to take care of the families and try to be here as best we can for them.
Ronald McDonald House Executive Director Mike Turles sums up their mission in 2 sentences. This home away from home has everything a family could need so they can focus on the care of their child at Geisinger's Janet Wise Children's Hospital. 2024 was the 50th anniversary of the first house in Philadelphia, while it was the 43rd anniversary here. Since it was created back in 1980, the house has had over 400,000 guests and 2 locations. The first sat along Bloom Road near the Geisinger entrance, and this has been the second since 1988. They still have the original Ronald McDonald phone from the first house in their front office. The Danville Ronald McDonald House was the 22nd created in the United States, and is currently one of 5 in Pennsylvania, with the others being the first in Philly, Hershey, Scranton, and Pittsburgh. There are now almost 400 across the country. Since 1988, there have been changes to this house, along with the addition of programs, but the mission has always remained the same.
Families are traveling great distances. They don't have to worry about finding a place to do laundry, a place to eat. And then in addition to that, we have a day guest program, and those are for families who may not need to stay overnight, but they're coming in from long appointments, or they're actually staying inside their child's room, and they need to be a bit of a respite away from the hospital, so they can come over here during the day, have something to eat, do laundry, and then go back where they wouldn't need to the hospital, where they wouldn't need overnight accommodations.
There are 19 bedrooms here, 17 with hotel-like features, 2 beds and a bathroom with their own phone and answering system. One thing they don't have is a TV, and there's a reason for that. They want the families to get out of their rooms and interact with others as a source of support. So there are 2 main TVs, one in this room on the 2nd floor that also can act as an extra family room if necessary, and then one downstairs. The other 2 rooms are essentially efficiency apartments.
They have TVs, they have kitchenettes in them, they have pull-out couches, private restroom as well. So, and these are, once again, because these children are generally with us for a longer period of time because they're going back and forth for their treatment. But the rooms allow them to be here in a home-like environment where they don't have to stay in the hospital. As long as the doctors and nurses say it's okay, because they're only right across the parking lot, they can come over here and be together as a family. Yeah, so so we try to offer all the amenities of the communal part of the house. And once again, mom and dad may allow the child to go out, for maybe an hour or two, and then come back to the room, like out to the communal part of the house. However, that's up to mom and dad. We let mom and dad make those decisions, but we just provide the resources for them and they utilize it to the best of their needs.
So when you think of the Ronald McDonald House, you should think of it as a house that just happens to have 19 bedrooms. It also has a dining room that can accommodate 28 people. They have a comforting living room and a nice, quiet, peaceful sunroom. There is an interior playroom for the children. Studies have shown that children deal with stress through play. Although anything plush, like these lions, has to be kept out of the reach of smaller arms because they can easily collect germs. In addition, they have a well-stocked laundry room.
There are times that families come in just with the clothes on their back because they think they're coming in for a checkup and the child's admitted. Or they're with us and they brought only maybe 4 changes of clothes because they thought they were only going to be here a few days, and it turns out they're now 2 months. So that's why we have a laundry room. We also have personal care products we offered them. We have, when families come in with just their clothes on their back, we have sweatpants and sweatshirts and t-shirts and shorts. That sometimes that's all they need to get through the night until they can get home, get more things, and then come back to us. If they're living a great distance, then we have additional clothing items that they can have.
There is a large kitchen with volunteers who come in and make meals. They also have restaurants drop items off, and they purchase restaurant gift cards, so there are many different ways you can support the meal program. And in many cases, the food that a family member might find in the kitchen may be the only meal they'll get after a day spent at the hospital.
We had a mom one time who told us that it wasn't for our meal program, she wasn't going to eat, although we also offer food here where the families can make their own food. But a lot of times the parents are at the hospital from early in the morning to late at night. And when she came in, although she was hungry, she just was so tired. But being that there was something here made, she could make her own platter, put it in the microwave, and that's how she was living. And it was through our meal programs.
And just like many homes, this home away from home has a nice big outside playground donated by Playworld. It's just another nice distraction for families and kids, allowing them to relax a little and forget their troubles, even if just for a moment. They'll also find these cornhole boards that were made by T. Ross Brothers. The goal here is to keep the family together as much as possible, because studies have shown that sick children do better if they have their parents or families around. While all of the amenities are here that families may have in their own homes to make them feel as comfortable as possible, the other aspect you find here is the support. There is the communal space so that families will interact and help each other, and there have been some long-lasting bonds established here. Staff members offer another level of support. While they do have some training, they aren't professional counselors, but it doesn't take much, a shoulder to cry on, or words of encouragement. They have 17 employees here, many working at night when the majority of families are around after a day at the hospital, and they have to keep the house staffed 24/7, 365. That was even the case during the pandemic, which did require a fair amount of creativity. Because the unfortunate reality is that they always have occupants. And while that number varies, there has never been a time when they haven't had any guests. Even during our visit, they were essentially full. And that's even true during the holidays, like we just went through. But in keeping with the home away from home attitude, it doesn't mean they miss out on anything holiday related.
Those families that are here, we will have a Thanksgiving dinner. Santa Claus does visit them in the middle of the night. They will have a Christmas dinner. During Easter time, they have an Easter dinner. Easter Bunny visits them in the middle of the night. These are all things that the families aren't expecting, but it just underscores that we truly become their home away from home.
While Mike now runs the house, he started out here 20 years ago as a volunteer. He tells us that volunteers play a huge role in the house. The number of helpers varies just like the number of guests. But Turles says they are absolutely wonderful, donating the most valuable thing you can donate, their time. They come in weekly or monthly just to be there to support the families, not only in the house through their meal programs, but as desk attendants at their family room or at camp.
It's amazing when a volunteer comes in how much they can brighten your day. They come in, they're smiling, they're so genuine. We've had volunteers that have come up to us because they had to change their schedule and say to us, I'm sorry, my family came in unexpected, I have to change my schedule, but I'll make up my hours. And it's like, realize you're a volunteer, right? But that's how dedicated they are.
This brings up two other aspects of the Ronald McDonald House that we haven't touched on yet. A while back, the house partnered with the Children's Hospital to create a little mini Ronald McDonald House. It's called the Family Room, and it's a respite area for families where they sit, relax, and grab something to eat. All the while, they are only steps from their child's bedside in case they need to make any serious medical decisions. The other big offshoot occurs for a week each July at Camp Victory outside of Millville. It's called Camp Dosed, and it's a camp for kids with cancer. It's been going on for over 40 years, so almost as long as the house itself. Turles says that children who are dealing with cancer are yo-yoed in and out of the clinics and have been somewhat robbed of their childhood. Camp Dosed tries to provide a safe outdoor experience for those children so they can just be kids. They're able to bring a sibling along, and mom and dad get some time to themselves because volunteers once again are there to help out, usually at a 2-to-1 ratio for the 60 to 70 campers.
They do an amazing job. They do a different theme each year, and the one year was heroes. And naturally, they brought up like superheroes and so forth, but our camp coordinator did an amazing job and brought up the Mountain State Police, firemen and women to show the campers there's actual heroes in the community. So when we were up there, and I was talking to one of our campers who has been with us for quite a few years, and I was asking her what she thought about the theme and everything. Then I asked her what was her favorite theme since she's been coming to camp, and she said heroes. And I said, oh, I said, you must like superheroes. And the next statement out of her mouth, just underscored what the camp means to these kids. She said, well, I do like superheroes, but for 1 week up here, I like this theme because we're the heroes. And it just underscored what that means to the camp, and I'll never forget that.
Back at the house, they get a tremendous amount of community support, relying on donations for their $800,000 annual budget. You also may be as interested as I was to learn that they don't get any financial help from their namesake. Ronald McDonald House Charities does help in other ways, though, getting in-kind donations for things like furniture at each house, and by providing training for staff members. There also are opportunities to sponsor here. A sponsorship is often spread out over 5 years, so a business or individual could sponsor the kitchen or one of the efficiency apartments for $10,000 or one of the other 17 rooms for $5,000. Turles and the house are very appreciative of all the support they receive from the community through either monetary donations or through their time as a volunteer. It certainly makes it easier for him to focus on the task at hand, helping families through a most difficult time.
This position, a lot of times people within my life say to me, well, how can you work there? Isn't it depressing? And it's really beyond that. You know, I'm having a bad day and I go out and I talk to one of our families and it's like I have nothing to complain about. It keeps me well grounded. In addition, I have the utmost respect for our families. They are going through some of the worst possible things in their lives, and yet they're the first one when a new family comes in. I hear them say to one family, you know, if a staff or volunteer isn't available and you have a question, I'll be happy to help you.
There are always opportunities to volunteer and donate to the Ronald McDonald House, and you can find out more information about that on their website. And when we come back, we'll introduce you to a local woman who was in Paris this summer. We'll tell you why.
TiVo Plus. All the TV you could ever dream of. Personalized and streaming 24/7. Your favorite shows, movies, videos, and more. All in one easy experience you know and love. Streaming TV that's free, binge-worthy, and always on.
Energized.
TiVo Plus.
Hello, everybody. I'm Carl Bauer. Join me as we sit down with some local sports legends of the past. From state champions to gold medalists, we catch up and find out whatever happened to those fantastic local athletes. Join me every Monday at 2 and 6 p.m. for Catching Up with Carl, only on Service Electric Cablevision, channel 508 HD.
Like the more events you work, like the smaller and smaller the world gets in that industry.
The industry Ruby Sanguedolce is talking about is the sports broadcast industry. Ruby has been working in this field since 2018, when she was asked to help out with the Little League World Series in South Williamsport. Her journey after that has led her to Beaver Stadium, Las Vegas, and finally this summer to the pinnacle of sporting events, the Olympics. We met with Ruby last fall at the Riverside Lounge that her family once owned in Montgomery. They sold it in 2018, giving her more free time, which caught the attention of a guy who lives up the street and who also happens to be in charge of crewing the locals for the Little League World Series. He asked her to help out, which she did, and loved it, soaking in the atmosphere and enjoying the access that comes with working behind the scenes of an event like that. She did that for 2 years, and that opened the door to more events. And this goes back to what Ruby alluded to at the beginning. Contacts, the people you meet, networking. It's the name of the game in this industry.
There was a young woman who was a runner. And a runner is like a production assistant. So they help facilitate schedules to people. They fill craft services. They pick up the talent from the airport. A number of other roles. There's a lot of things that runners do. And so a woman was a runner for a couple of years at Little League. She lived in Florida. I had lived in Florida. She had a band shirt on. We connected on that, and fast forward a couple years, she moves up to an operations coordinator or operations manager, and she's every year she tries to get me on a game, and it was 2 years ago. I worked week 18 of Monday Night Football in Las Vegas, and so got to see that stadium. That was really cool. And then this year, I got to work Monday Night Football Week 9 in Kansas City against Tampa Bay.
Sanguedolce remembers one aspect in particular about that last game, how loud it was. She said she's been on the field at Beaver Stadium, which is notably noisy, and she's been in Syracuse's Carrier Dome, also known as the Loud House, but none compare with Arrowhead Stadium's 142 decibels, which left her ears ringing despite the fact she was wearing a headset and getting instructions through them from the production truck. It was in stark contrast to her first NFL game, MetLife Stadium in New Jersey, during the pandemic, when there wasn't a crowd, nobody there to watch or cheer after a touchdown. After that, Ruby's contacts got her work in track and field at the NCAA Outdoor Championships in Oregon, and yes, she was in close proximity to stars Noah Lyles and Sha'Carri Richardson. She also worked at the Olympic trials for wrestling held in State College, a bobsled and luge event in Lake Placid, and horse racing. While she has been doing more camera lately, she started out working in setup for the most part, running cables and building the infrastructure for the broadcast, which is what she was doing a couple years ago when she got her really big break.
I worked the Winter University Games a couple years ago. I did short track speed racing. I didn't do the speed racing. I helped set up the broadcast there. And our director, our last day riding into our job site, it was an hour ride between our hotel and the job site. So the very last day, I had my option of riding in with the fella I had been working with side by side, or riding in with our other coworker. And so I chose the other coworker, and I didn't realize that the other passenger in the vehicle was our director. Just because as the job that I have building out the infrastructure of the events, I don't sometimes get a lot of interaction with the directors or the people inside the truck. So I didn't really know that that was a director. And like 10 minutes into our drive, he said, well, Ruby, tell me a little bit about yourself. And I talked about myself a little bit, and when we got to the site, he showed me inside the production trailer and showed me where replay sits, where audio sits, where the video team sits, and great conversation. We go and do our event, and about 2 months later, I get an email from him saying that he has a paid development position for Paris 2024 that he thinks that I would be great for. I answered the email back immediately. Of course, Paris, I mean, it could have been Paris, Kentucky. I would have been happy to go. But yeah, so I answered the email immediately, and then I Googled Paris 2024, and it was the Olympics. And I was absolutely floored. So I just sent my response. A couple weeks go by. He asked if I could make a little bit of a resume, and I actually had somebody make that for me. And then that was in March, and then I want to say July of that year. I remember when I got the email, and I just so happened to be at the 1968 Winter Olympics site in Lake Tahoe.
No kidding.
Yeah. Yep. I was doing another job out there, not pertaining to broadcasting or anything. And I was there with the team of people that I was working with. It was it was the day after the festival that we worked, and we're waiting in line getting coffee, and I open up my emails, and it says, congratulations, you've been selected to be a part of the 2024 Paris Olympic broadcasting.
She boarded a flight to Paris on July 21st. Right about the same time the CrowdStrike update was causing massive computer issues across the globe, including turning my office desktop into a hunk of junk. It also held up the arrival of many of her fellow crew members by 2 or 3 days. She knew she was going to be working on a camera for skateboarding and BMX, but not much more than that. Her venues were at the Place de la Concorde, the largest square in Paris, where Marie Antoinette met her end in a guillotine. After 5 or 6 days of setup and preps, her events were set to begin on the 27th, the day after the opening ceremonies, although their first day got rained out. Here's the thing for Ruby. She wasn't at the actual venue.
I operated a PTZ camera, which is a pan, tilt, zoom, actually a robotic camera. So where my station was based essentially was kind of in the broadcasting compound, and we were in the room where they do all of the replays. So that's a whole nother world. But so we were kind of actually separate from like the main field of play, FOP they call it. So we didn't really get to interact a lot or be that close. So, which was a little kind of a, you know, yeah, but when it was really, really hot, which as it was a few times, we had our nice provided uniforms, which we needed the long sleeves inside of the production truck. It was a little chilly sometimes. Right. And then when it rained, well, we were still inside the production truck. So it was a little bit of a bummer, yes.
Sanguedolce says she did get some time in the city during breaks, and they got to watch some events, like 3-on-3 basketball, which was close to their venue, and she watched beach volleyball from the top of the Eiffel Tower. In all, she was there for 16 days, returning home just in time to work the Little League World Series again. The one thing we were surprised to learn was that she wasn't there as a member of the NBC crew. She worked for Olympic Broadcasting Services.
NBC owns the rights, but OBS is Olympic Broadcasting Services. They are like the governing body. And so I worked for OBS. And yeah, so I did not know this, that different countries are in charge of broadcasting different sports. So say like Germany, they have their crew and their production team, they cover certain sports, and then Great Britain does other sports, and so there's different countries, and they kind of all share the responsibility of their team.
NBC cherry picks what they do, or
there's world feeds. There's so much that goes on, but yeah, there's world feeds, and they kind of all share them, and so they are able to kind of take the feeds that they want and kind of put them together in the ways that they want to use them or broadcast them.
She wore her official OBS uniform for our interview. That, her memories, and her time spent with her crew members are her favorite things to think about from her time in Paris. If you know Ruby like we do, full disclosure, she is a camera person for us as well. It would be no surprise to hear that she met everybody from everywhere while there. Plenty more contacts were made and relationships established, especially with female camera operators, which she doesn't see too often. Nothing that has led to any jet-setting work yet, but that's the nature of this biz.
It's such a strange business. It's one day you could have a lot of being freelance. One day you can have a lot of work on your table, and then once that work is done, you might not have a lot yet, and then miraculously you'll end up with a bunch of work unexpectedly.
So from Oregon to Arrowhead, Danville to Vegas, baby. Ruby has seen it all, except Taylor Swift. She didn't get any shots of Taylor while at the Chiefs game, but this summer, Paris was the ultimate. One
of the crowning experiences of my life yet. So it's on the world stage. It's the Olympics, and I feel very fortunate, very lucky that I was given the opportunity to go, and yeah, it's the Olympics.
So did you bump into that director again?
And Ruby has already begun to use those contacts and networking to set up her schedule for 2025. If you have a segment idea for us, you can drop us an email at IYN@SECV8.com or shoot us a message on Facebook. And that's going to do it for us. I'm your host, Chris O'Rourke. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you again next time, maybe from in your neighborhood.